So my name's Mark Cudmore. I'm from a company called Wood. So that's a leading engineering and consulting company. So we're about 40,000 people, very global. We have offices all over the world. And really, if there's anything in materials or in energy that is needed, we try and fix it. So we have consulting groups, we have projects groups for very large projects, all the way down to revamps for things like refineries. But we also have an operations group, so we're actually within the operations of sites, and especially in upstream as well. So very broad company, sometimes difficult for me to get my head around it, but we do an awful lot. I was here, I was at the Congress in Budapest, and it was a number of years ago. I think the conference was fairly new at the time. And it's been really interesting that probably over the last 5, 6, 7 years or so, the change we've seen in the types of presentations and the focus from operators and from the sites has changed enormously. So 7 years ago or so, I would say that it was mostly yield. It was about getting your benchmark numbers up, reliability. Energy efficiency was on the agenda, but not the sort of wholesale change that comes from the strategies that we're seeing now. So I would say 4 years ago or so, when I was at this Congress, we were starting to see that change. So we're seeing the industry leaders set out those paths to decarbonisation, to circular economy, to the new clean fuels, and decarbonised fuels. But we still saw all of the rest of the conventional technologies. And now it's just amazing to see that this could be a sustainability conference. It is, I would say 80% is really focused around green technologies, e-fuels, clean fuels, SAF, all of these things. And we'll talk a little bit about the sort of risks in only focusing on that, I guess, a little bit later. But it's been a really interesting transition, I think. Our presentation, on behalf of my colleague Luca Mancuso, in fact, who couldn't be here. So it's very on theme. It's all about sustainable aviation fuels and also e-fuels and all of the other routes that we can use to get there. So it actually covers a few of our projects that we've done for clients recently. So there's a few case studies in there, a few insights on where the capital cost is focused. So I think that's quite interesting, and some industry insights as well. So I think it'll really tee off the moderator session quite well with the other speakers. I think all of the operators will probably concur on it's just a period of immense change, and not just change, but it's uncertainty. So because the framework for the rules for decarbonisation and the economics behind decarbonisation still isn't that certain, some of the bigger strategic moves, like deep electrification, like moving to e-fuels, like moving to biofuels in a big way, some of that is in the roadmap. The studies are being done, and we're doing a huge amount of those studies, but to pull the trigger on those to get past FID is a different matter. And when you look at those roadmaps and you look at the amount of power and green power that's required to realise them, and the commitment that sites would need to make in their carbon cost projections. I think that's the real challenge that we're seeing at the moment. So we've moved from a conversation that was probably more about, do our refineries survive in the future, to probably more of a conversation about what do we turn them into and when do we spend those billions to invest. Digitalization and digital tech, I think, is, again, it's something that's easy to sell, right? It's very productized. But I think there's two answers to this. One is that people are only really now getting on top of the things that they should have been doing anyway. So things like simulation, things like modeling, digital twin, as we now call it, that some of that technology was available, 10, even 20 years ago. But I think where we can help is actually applying those technologies and helping people out in applying those in the best possible way. So those technologies are out there, and they probably provide a huge amount of benefit. I think there's plenty of case studies on that, and we've done lots of work on steam systems or on yield studies, etc., to try and help people out with that. I think the other part of that is the more emergent technologies that have gotten a lot better over the last 5, maybe 10 years. So where we're looking at data analytics, or we're looking at maintenance planning, where we can really dig deep into predicting when things and how things are going to fail. There's definitely technology there that's using big data, and again, that's an area that we've seen in wood and we're helping clients out with. So yeah, two different elements there, I think. It works really well, and this is quite a unique thing, I think, for BGS. I think the way you are pushed together with potential clients and vendors, and you're personally connected with someone who helps with that. And it's not just your personal manager who's been really helpful, but actually all of the other staff also find you, look at your name card and say, you're on my list. You need to go and talk to this person. I've been incredibly busy here, and it seems whenever I walk through, I'm grabbed either by a potential client or by one of you guys, and that's really good value for us. It's been a really good blend, as always. It's really good to meet the end operators in my line of business, which is about optimisation. It's about helping existing assets. That's always really good to see their perspectives, get their insights. And then I think it's also really important to meet the vendors, because their new technologies and their niche technologies are really important for us to be able to then inject into our client's business. So if we see a need, then we know who to go to, and we can help make that happen.